Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are starting law school this year, or you've already started, or even if you're starting within the next year, then this video is for you. I'm going to be talking about the 4 things that you shouldn't do in law school and why. Okay, let's just jump right in. So the first one is winging it. W-I-N-G. Winging it. You should not wing it. You should not wing law school. Now, I know that may seem obvious, that may seem straightforward, but you would be surprised the amount of people who go into law school and wing it. And that is more than likely because they were not told that they need to prepare for law school, or they were not told what to do in law school, or they were not told how they need to make themselves ready for the law school career that is ahead of them, right? And so you don't want to wing it. Why? Because first and foremost, especially when it comes to your 1L year, your 1L year is going to be pretty important for the job that you get immediately out of graduation, because your 1L grades are what most employers, unfortunately, are looking at when they're determining if you are hireable, or when they're making the cuts, or if deciding if you even get an interview, right? And the reason for that is because first and foremost, so if we're talking about big law and other firms, their hiring cycle is moving earlier and earlier and earlier. And so typically they're pre-recruiting even before second semester grades are out. I know that was the case for me when I was in law school a couple years ago. And now even more so. Now, even that I've graduated, a lot of my clients are doing pre-recruiting way before and engaging in those firm interviews or firm events. And then if that's happening, sometimes even before your second semester grades are out, then of course those grades are going to matter. But if we're talking a little bit more generally, so OCI usually happens the summer before your 2L year. And so again, they're looking at those 1L year grades when they're determining OCI. There's also, if you're interested in the public sector, that in that case, maybe you have a little bit more leeway, but still, right, going through the public sector recruiting process. I know when I was looking at getting my internship, my externship, I actually landed that before my second semester 1L grades were out, right? And then typically, because you're landing that 2L year job before you start your 2L year, or before your 2L fall semester is done, so before those grades are out, that's why those 1L grades have a pretty heavy importance. And so that's why you don't want to wing it, right? That's why you don't want to wing law school. I know a lot of people say you don't need to prepare. I don't believe that. No, you don't need to read law books. You don't need to try and read case books and that kind of stuff, but you should understand, okay, how am I going to study? How am I supposed to be studying? How do I make a schedule? What's supposed to go on my schedule? What's a case brief and how do I do it? Maybe even the basic understandings of what's the rule of law, how to find it, the facts, like what's important, what's not important, thinking about outlines, right? Practice exams. I feel like the basic understanding is something that you definitely want to have before you start law school, and especially within those first few weeks of law school, so that you're not just kind of figuring it out as you go. And that's why I always recommend doing a pre-law program, so that you avoid feeling like you do have to wing it and just kind of fly by the seat of your pants or figure it out as you go. You're just going to give yourself a lot more leeway, a lot more room to kind of just breathe if you go in a little bit more prepared. And that is something that I help my clients with in my coaching community, which you can always access by just going to toppingthecurve.com or clicking the link down in the description box. Okay, the second thing that you shouldn't do in law school is ask people what their grades are. I feel like this is obvious, but I just know that some of you have probably been asked, and if you're the asker, then stop. Just don't ask people what their grades were. Don't. If they want to share it, they will. It's just unnecessary, and you're probably just adding stress because, right, you're already graded on the curve. It's already difficult. You're already in exam season, or have just finished with exams. Maybe they're already worried. Maybe they're already unhappy with their grades. Don't ask someone what their grades were. Don't do it. And I've gotten this question before, because I'll talk about these things again in my community to my clients who I'm helping succeed in law school, and they'll say, okay, but Sephora, you said we have to make sure that we're getting outlines from people who have done well in their classes, and so how do we know if they've done well or have the information if we can't ask them their grades? And well, the answer is because you're judging by the outline, right? And you're judging by multiple outlines, and that's why you're not just getting one outline, you're getting multiple. And I get into the details of it, which is just way too many details. But when you have multiple outlines, you can look at all of them and see like, okay, this is probably a weak outline, or this, and you'll know like this is the strongest, this is when it's okay, right? And that's what you're telling, and you're always wanting to choose something that's stronger than the rest. And also too, just talking to other people. So when I was in law school, people knew who the strong performers were, even without asking them their grades, because there are other indicators that will tell you that information. For instance, I tutored when I was a 2L. I did a lot of tutoring for the 1Ls and even for the part-time students. If someone's a tutor, usually to become a tutor, the school or the program requires you to submit proof of your grades for the classes that you were tutoring in. And so if someone is tutoring in a subject or multiple subjects, that's a good indicator that they did well, or at least they know the basics of doing well, because otherwise they wouldn't be tutoring, right? And so then again, like talking to other upperclassmen, like asking them, who should I talk to if I need help with XYZ? Who should I talk to if I need help with this? Because they're gonna know. And so that's what I was doing. And people told me, you're gonna hear the same names, right? People told me, you need to go to this person, you need to go to this person, you need to go to this person. Like people will know. It's just because you're new, you don't know, but people will know. And so you just have to talk to other people and ask them. You don't want to go around asking people their grades. Number 3 is you don't want to be a know-it-all. Nobody likes to know it all. And let's be honest, you're all in law school for the first time. You clearly don't know it all. You know just about as the person to your right and the person to your left, okay? You're all in law school together. And on that same front, like, I don't like this word. I don't like to call people this word, but gunners, right? And what people think gunners are is someone who always volunteers in class, and that is not what a gunner is. A gunner is someone who thinks they know more than the professor. A gunner is someone who is raising their hand and they're challenging the professor, right? I don't classify a gunner as just someone who's active or like enjoys participating in class, because I know like lately I've seen a lot, or even a little bit when I was in law school, saying like, no, I don't want to volunteer because I don't want to be called a gunner. I don't want people to think I'm a gunner. That's not what a gunner is. If you want to volunteer, okay? A gunner is someone who thinks they know more than the professor. They're this big know-it-all. And this is not the case in all circumstances, issues, whatever, but I've definitely had gunners in my class, and what I've noticed is some of them are the PhDs who have now come into law school because they've decided they want to get a JD, and so they're challenging the professor because they have this PhD, even though their PhD is not in law, it's in something some other subject completely unrelated, but I've seen it. And now that's a gunner. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to challenge the professor. You're not a law school professor. If you have a question, ask the question. You don't have to challenge them. But also outside of like gunners and challenging the professor, just being a know-it-all with with your classmates, right? You want to build a good rapport with your classmates. These are people who are also going to become attorneys, who are also going to be going out and be doing good things. And also you just want to be a good person. Nobody likes to know it all, right? If you know something and you're not asked, just keep your mouth shut or just say it nicely. You don't have to say it with an attitude or always be the one to speak up, whatever, right? Especially in law school, again, because I feel like when things can normally be overlooked in everyday life and kind of just ignored or whatever, in law school, it's like everything is multiplied because you're just kind of in a cocoon. When you're in law school, you're just in this cocoon with the other people you're in law school with. And so things get old a lot quicker. Things are multiplied over and over, and maybe even blown up to more than it should be. And so whereas your know-it-allness may have been okay outside of law school, it's probably gonna not come across so well when you're in law school. So you just want to keep an eye out for that. Finally, we have number 4. You don't want to dismiss other people's opinions or experiences. Law school is a place where you're going to have differences of view, difference of opinion, difference of culture, different backgrounds, like literally different everything, and they're going to be in your classes, okay? And you're going to talk about some tough subjects because you're studying the law. They're going to come across, and people are going to raise their hand and have one opinion, and then someone's not going to like it, and they're going to raise their hand and challenge that opinion, and so on and so forth. And that's completely fine, but you just want to do it respectfully. You don't want to come off as like, you don't matter, your opinion doesn't matter. Now, there are certainly some opinions, if you know what I'm saying. But anyway, so just recognize that law school is one of those places where you are going to inevitably run into those circumstances, issues, whatever, you can engage, do so respectfully, have a conversation, but also realize that at some point, there's no point in trying to win someone over to your side if they have made it clear that they don't even have an open mind on the topic, because then you're just wasting your breath. And you may run into a lot of those in law school, so you just want to be careful of how you approach it, okay? So those are the things that you do not want to do, or things you want to be careful of when you're in law school. This is hopefully some helpful information. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. But let me know down in the comments what other kinds of videos that you want to see. If you are applying to law school or starting law school soon, then make sure you check out my Greats Application Accelerator. It is our coaching community where you learn everything application and success in law school. And if you guys have any questions about anything, you can always shoot us an email or message us on Instagram or TikTok. You can follow us there at Topping the Curve. I will see you guys on my next one. Thanks so much for watching.